Welcome to Build with Brittany. In this very special episode, we are doing a recording replay of our coffee and construction interview with Mr. Kenneth Bell of KB Holdings. If you want access to all the recordings from our coffee and construction session, or you want an invitation to the next coffee and construction event, check the description below. In this session, we're going to be learning the key differences between real estate development and other investment strategies. We're going to talk about how to build simple, repeatable deal evaluation systems so that you can give a quick yes or no on any deal that's brought to you. We're going to talk about infill development and why it's a supercharged strategy for your real estate development career. And we're going to take audience questions, comments, concerns. You're going to get a front row seat to the #1 real estate development conference that has happened in Houston to date. So stick around to the end of the episode because I promise you're going to get a ton of tips, resources, and strategies. Enjoy. So without further ado, let's give him a round of applause. And Kenneth, I'll leave it up to you.
Thank you. I want to say thank you, Brittany, also for helping make this happen. I was very excited to have the opportunity to come and speak with you folks. I have a very deep interest in Houston for development for several reasons, and I'm really excited to be able to be here and talk to you guys, even if it is from a distance. So I'll tell you a brief bit about me. I've been in real estate for 25 years. I started out as a buy and hold investor, and went to flipping, and I found development really by accident. It was not something that happened on purpose, but it has changed my life for the better, and I love teaching people and educating people about development. So I have different coursework that I teach people about how to get started. So when I was asked to come and talk to you guys about getting started, like I said, I'm very excited about this. I tell people all the time that real estate is my crazy girlfriend, and I don't care how crazy she acts, we're never going to break up, and we're going to be together forever. So, the basics, real estate development, as compared to other real estate investing disciplines, is a little bit different. And that difference is in the specificity and, of course, the non-general knowledge that it takes to develop real estate. So if I wanted to get into, let's say, wholesaling, flipping houses, long-term hold development strategies for real estate, those take pretty general knowledge. I can, not to simplify them too much, but I can watch a couple of HGTV shows and figure out how to flip a house. There's plenty of them doing that. I can also, get very basic knowledge to figure out how to do wholesaling as well. Long-term strategies or long-term and short-term rental strategies, those are fairly easy to come up with as well, just from watching a few people, and you can do it pretty much anywhere. The difference with real estate development is, in order for you to be successful, one of the terms we're going to talk about is called highest and best use, and that's getting the maximum value out of every project that you do. There's some specifics that you need to understand, and the most important of which is zoning. Zoning is the rules that are set to help you understand what can be done, what can't be done on a piece of property, which ultimately dictates the value. And that value is a very, very important piece that we'll talk about later as far as real estate development is concerned, about you understanding how to value raw land. So what that means is, in most places, if you're in a different city in the same state, the zoning is going to be different. And then when you go to a different street or a different block, the zoning is going to be different even further. Where I'm located in Charlotte, North Carolina, if you said to me, if I asked, well, what's the zoning for a particular property, they say residential. Well, there's 8 different residential zoning districts that all allow different things. So that's not specific enough. I need to know, is it an N2B? Is it an N2 district, an N1 district? Is it an N1 district? Is it an N1A, B, C, D, E, or F? If it's an N2 district, is it N2B, N2A? And those all have different sets of rules around them that allow different things. So that's how it's different from other disciplines. You can't use general knowledge and really, really excel at real estate development. The other part that's super important for you, I don't know how many real estate professionals we have in the room, is that the idea of real estate that most of us have been taught the basis of real estate, the way that you're going to need to know it as a real estate developer are very, very different. And I'll make an analogy, pretty simple analogy. If I came to Houston and I built the same exact home 5 different times, the exact same home, and I can't see if you guys are nodding or think I'm crazy or not, but I guess we'll figure that out. If I built the same home 5 times, I guarantee you that I can put that home in 5 different places and get 5 totally different valuations for that property. And sell it for 5 different prices. And why is that important? It's important because if I come there and I hire a contractor, I'm going to pay him the same amount for labor. We're going to buy the same materials because it's the exact same price. But when we sell it, of course, there could be a disparity in what that price is. How can there be a disparity? If you look at a settlement statement or a closing statement or a HUD statement or whatever you guys call it there, also if you look at their appraisal, there are 2 items that are on appraisal. There's the house and there's the land. Well, I just pretty quickly established to you that houses cost what houses cost. So the change in value, the difference in value, could only come from the land. I'll go even further. If we took the house that was in the most expensive neighborhood, and we took that house apart and took it back to where we got the materials from, we wouldn't get any more money for those materials. If I take a 2x4 to Beverly Hills, California, or the Hamptons, it doesn't become instantly worth any more. And I say all this to say that in real estate development, once you really get into it, the commodities don't matter. They're not rare, they don't appreciate. So, buildings in general do not appreciate. The building that you folks are sitting in right now does not appreciate. Any building that you've ever been in before does not appreciate. It doesn't. The commodity piece of the building doesn't appreciate. The only thing that appreciates is the underlying land, which allows you to sell that building for more money, but the building itself never appreciates. So, that being the case, if you want to get into real estate development, you're going to have to change your mindset and start not thinking about commodities. Your main concern is going to be raw land and the value of that raw land. And the reason that is because it is a truly scarce commodity. On this planet, there are 3 of them that we know for sure. I don't know how much gold there is on the earth. I don't know how many oils, how much diamonds. I don't know any of that. I do know how much water there is, how much land there is, and how much air there is. And those are the only identifiably scarce commodities on this entire planet. So, by land being one of those by its nature, it is always going to grow in value as long as population continues to grow on this planet. So, when you get into real estate development, the very first thing that I will teach you to do, or that you must understand, is how to make an evaluation of land. So, if you want to write down step 1, that is step 1. How do I evaluate raw land? The issue with that is that no one's going to do it for you. Because most people really don't look at how it's actually done. And that includes appraisers. If you have a property appraised, I hope I'm not fitting anyone that may be an appraiser in the room, but if you have a property appraised, that appraiser is going to look at comparables. But they don't dissect, they don't go deep into the actual comparable. If they say, hey, I have a 1/4 acre lot here, and I have a 1/4 acre lot here. They both have houses on them. Well, this lot could have an underlying zoning that's residential, but it may allow for 4 or 5 units. This one may not. They could be directly across the street from each other. I've done it several times. The value of the one that allows for more on it has a greater value. And the one that allows less on it has a lower value. So, I'm going to tie all this together in this way. Real estate is worth a derivative of what you can put on the real estate. It doesn't matter about its size. And also, this may be perplexing to you too, it doesn't matter about its location. It matters about the value. And I'll give you an example. So, if we have a 1 acre parcel in a very, very nice neighborhood, and it will allow us to put, let's say, a $2 million home in Houston, okay? And then I have another 1 acre parcel in a very, very, maybe not favorable neighborhood in Houston. But it allows me to put 20 townhomes worth $300,000 a piece. Well, 20 townhomes with $300,000 a piece is a gross development value of $6 million. The 1 acre that has the nice house on it, you can put a townhome for $2 million. So, which 1 acre parcel is worth more money? The one that you can put the most value. It doesn't matter where it is, it matters how much value you can put on it. And as a real estate developer, that's what you're trying to get to. That's what highest and best use is. Highest and best use is a term that you should also write down. That is what you're always trying to obtain is highest and best use. What is the most amount of value that I can put on this lot? Because that's going to tell me what the lot is really worth. So what I do is I teach a formula based on the fact that commodities are just commodities. If I build a 1,500 square foot of this finished level in Houston, in general, it's going to cost me this much. Doesn't matter where I put it. Put it in 15 different places, it's going to cost me the same thing. Now, the value that I get from that is going to be on how well I got that average. And what's the maximum value I can put on that lot? So that becomes my focus, is that valuation. So I teach a very simple formula. It's called, you guys can write this down, 20, 60, 20. Okay? Did you add?
Before we dive back in, I want to let you know about an exclusive opportunity to share the recordings from Coffee and Construction with you. If you're serious about building your real estate development career, raising capital, and taking everything to the next level, these recordings are packed with actionable insights and expert interviews that are going to help you do just that. Check the description below for more information on how you can get access to all of the recordings and an invitation to the next Coffee and Construction event. Whether you're a beginner or you're looking to scale your career, this series is meant to give you the tools and resources you'll need to succeed. Now let's get back to it.
20 plus 60 plus 20 equals 100%. Pretty simple. The first 20% is pad ready land. So what I mean by pad ready is that the parcel or parcels are ready for vertical construction. They're ready to go vertical. So that means if the lot needs to be cleared, you can't go vertical. If it's not cleared, you can't go vertical. If the hot lot doesn't have water and sewer, you can't go vertical. So everything that you need to be able to call your general contractor and say, hey, you go ahead and do the vertical piece. 20% of your gross. The 60% is what I will dedicate at a maximum to vertical construction. So, whatever the gross of the house is, 60% of that is what I'll develop. I'll leave for vertical construction. So, make it easy. If we have a $300,000 house, for pad ready land, 20% of that, I'll pay $60,000 for pad ready. I'll pay 60% of that $300,000 for $180,000 for vertical construction, and that should leave me a gross profit of 20%. The reason why I do this is so that I can always, like they used to say in school, color inside the lines. If I do that, then I know the minimum place I'm going to start is with a 20% gross profit. Now, if I'm good at my job, then that's the bottom. That's the I'll do this, but it's not what I really wanted. I'm going to try to get that margin to higher and higher, as high as I possibly can. But also what you understand in real estate development is that, first of all, development and construction are two different disciplines. People may need you to believe they're the same, but they're not. And I'll explain to you why. If you're a person that does construction, that's your discipline is construction, and you don't construct anything, it's very difficult to get paid because you do construction, you do vertical piece. Okay? Real estate development is different. Real estate development is the improvement this, Kenny, well, construction is improvement. Yes, construction is improvement, but if I have a lot that I can split the lot into multiple lots, and because I split the lot into multiple lots, I can sell each lot for an aggregate of more than what the original lot that I bought it for, then I've done development, I've improved it. And I can exit that way. If I have these same lots and I say, okay, I'll split them and I'll also add utility, I'll add water and sewer to each one of those lots. And because of that, I've improved the value of the lot. I've developed those lots. If I have a lot, for instance, that is landlocked, that means it doesn't have any direct access, and I add easement through some other way to be able to get to the lot, then I've added value to that lot that can be monetized, and I can thus sell that lot for more money. If I have a parcel that is zoned for one particular use, and I make changes so it can be zoned for a different particular use at a higher value, then I've added value. I made a change to add value. So that being the case is I develop things all the time, and I don't necessarily have to use a shovel to do it. Sometimes it's a paperweight. Sometimes it's adding easement. Sometimes it's getting a public utility. Sometimes it's using a surveyor and splitting lots in half. Sometimes it's doing all of those things, and other times it's the possibility of actually doing vertical construction. But with development, it's not necessary that you do vertical construction. So what it does is it gives you many, many more avenues to exit a project and still make money. So that is the difference between construction and development. And the reason why I would implore you to focus more on development, because that is where the money is. If you talk to anyone, I don't know if anyone here in the crowd is possibly a general contractor. I have in North Carolina what's called an unlimited license, so I can build whatever. I can build a skyscraper, a bridge, or whatever. I can build whatever. If you are an excellent, top of the top general contractors in construction, the best margin you could probably ever expect to have is probably between 22 and 25%. And that would be a top-notch operator. Most general contractors, their margins are going to be probably between 16 and 18%. And because you're dealing with commodities that don't appreciate value, labor, materials, things like that, there's not much money to be made from construction. I can only make a house so cheap. I can only make it so cheap. I can get cheaper materials and this and that and the other. However, on the other side of the equation, where the development is, there's an unlimited possibility for me to make money. So even though I have an unlimited general contractor's license, I try my best to use it as little as possible, because that's not where I make it. I make my money in development. So that being the case, if you are trying to get started in development, we've already gone through two things that are very much key for you. The first thing is for you to gain an understanding of evaluation. How do I actually evaluate all things? The second thing is you need to also understand what that evaluation involves in. Do I have a system in place to make sure that I don't make any silly decisions? Do I have a valuation system in place that allows me to quickly evaluate a deal and say, hey, this is a go or a no-go? The one thing I will say about real estate, which is a blessing and a curse, there are so many different lanes. There's a million ways to make money in real estate. And it's very easy to be distracted by this shiny thing or that shiny thing, that other shiny thing over there. And I try to get people to focus on making sure that you have a concise roadmap that you can follow over and over and over again, and get the same results over and over again. I've talked to a lot of people who have flipped properties before, and I used to do the same thing. And I remember when I was a buy and hold landlord, and I'm making, I don't know, $250, $300 a month on properties. At one time I had 43 properties. And I'm making $200, $300 a month. But what happened is I go for a year, someone moves out, and by the time I repaint, clean the carpets, and whatever else, I spent $3,000 to $3,500. I only made $3,600 for the whole year, and I felt like I wasn't really getting anything. I'm like, man, I'm house rich but cash poor. I had a day job that was really good, but still, as far as my idea of positive cash flow from real estate, it didn't really come to fruition. So then I found flipping. And I think I did my first project. I think I made like, I don't know, maybe $40,000 in like 7 months. I was like, why in the world would I ever collect rent from people ever? I kept collecting it, but still, I found flipping. And I did flipping for years and did very, very well. I built up and got, more and more complex and more expensive flips. And then 2008 happened. And if you guys are old enough to remember what that was, I lost everything, I think, but my last name. I lost everything, pretty much. Because the economy just was in the toilet, I don't know what to say. So subsequent to that, I licked my wounds. And I think it was around probably 2012 or so, the market started coming back, and I had some leftover assets actually from 2008, and I bought this property, and it was pretty bad. It was really bad. It was so bad, in fact, I couldn't even get a dishonest, this is before I was a contractor, I couldn't even get a dishonest contractor to tell me that he could fix. Everyone's like, Ken, this guy's employment. Like, there's nothing we can do for this. So because of that, I never done new construction before. I didn't know anything about new construction. So I took myself down to the most local permitting office. They directed me to the zoning department and had a conversation with the gentleman there who was not very helpful at all. And I think in hindsight, I'm glad he wasn't very helpful. He said, hey, Mr. Bell, this is the zoning ordinance. Read this and it will tell you what you can do. And that's all they are. He wasn't really, I asked the priest, like, you have to figure it out for yourself. I don't have anybody to tell you that. Okay, cool. So I went home and I'm reading through this and it all looks like, languages I don't speak. And I'm looking at it and I keep looking at it, and I come to a place and I'm like, all right, from what it says here, I think that the house that I have, I can put a duplex on this lot, even though I have a single family house. And then, fortunately or unfortunately, the house next door, my buddy bought, his house was in worse shape than my house was, so I knew there was nothing to do with his either. And then I found an absentee landlord that had a parcel directly next to us. And by looking at the zoning, I saw that if I combined all the lots together and redivided each one of them, then I could have gotten 6 homes. And so I went down that path, and that's what I did. That was my very first development. So I took 3 lots, turned them into 6 lots. Also, too, because I didn't know any better, I went and took on the construction process. I think I raised right around $1 million from crowdfunding platform. It was brand new at the time, and I built and developed those 6 homes. The neighborhood that I did this in was a neighborhood people told me I was crazy. Like, no one's ever going to buy a house over there for $250,000 or $300,000. Fortunately for me, I didn't listen to them. I sold all the homes, and now the average price, and since then in that neighborhood, I've done, I think, 17 or 18 homes. The average price for a single family over there is a little bit north of $950,000 in that same neighborhood. So, that was my introduction to real estate development, and I found out just because there's a house that's sitting on this piece of property, it doesn't mean that's the only thing that can go on this piece of property. It means just that's one of the things that can go on this piece of property. And if you understand and you learn what is the highest thing that can go on that property, then that is the way you make money. So a particular type of development that I started doing, unbeknownst to me, is called infill development. Infill development is especially useful in places like Houston, Texas, where a lot of people are flooding to live. They want to come in. The very interesting thing about Houston, which I love, is you guys have a pretty much wide open development order. I think it's chapter 42 of your development ordinance. And basically, you guys have unbridled zoning. Like, you can pretty much do what you want, which makes Houston a very, very, very lucrative place to be if you understand how to navigate that. You couple that with the number of people that want to come and live in Houston, and it ends up being a very, very, very interesting place to come and develop. And I am looking forward to doing my first development deal there. I really, really am. But that is how I actually got into development. And what I learned from that situation, of course, is that, I took a parcel that, for most people, a house, if I was looking at it as a house flipper, there was no money to be made in that house. There's none. My buddy next door, there's no money to be made in his house. There's no money to be made in the one next to it either. But if I stop looking at the commodities, at the house, and I say to myself, okay, the land itself, how can I add value by working with the land? And I can't remember now, but I think that we made somewhere around, we grossed a little over $2.1 million on those 6 houses. And there's no way in the world that anyone, if I flip that property to the best of its ability, there's no way possible that could ever happen to me. Well, anyway, that is what changed my mind about understanding real estate and what I was trying to accomplish. So since that time, there's never a time that I have ever, nor should there be a time that you should ever, buy a piece of property and not understand what it's on. Now, of course, in Houston, whole different situation. You guys have, like I said, a wide open development ordinance, but other places in Texas and other places across the country, I don't know if you guys are all local or not, those rules do exist. And they tell you what you can do on a piece of property. So, I'm going to discuss with you, within most zoning ordinances, the 2 pieces of information that are the most important to you. The first thing is, what is it actually zoned? And it can't just be residential, because I'm sure wherever anyone may live, there may be 4, 5, 10 different residential districts, and they all have different uses and meanings for them. So the first thing you want to find out, what is the property actually zoned? And the second thing you want to find out, what are the available uses in that zoning? So when I say uses, most zoning ordinances have what's called a uses chart or uses matrix or uses diagram, and those uses may be had in this district. In 1A, you can do single-family homes and duplexes, and that may be all you can do. But you may have another district that you can do single-family homes, duplexes, triplexes, quadruplexes, townhomes, multifamily, attached, multifamily style, mixed use. And there are rules to get to those standards, of course, but the more that you can do, then that gives you more flexibility and the greater chance to add value, which in turn increases the value of the lot. So you want to make sure that you understand forevermore what is it zoned and what uses are available in that zone. I will tell you this, a real estate discipline right now that's out there, if you are a wholesaler, you have a vast advantage on most people because you see so many pieces and parcels of land come through your hands. One of the guys that I taught, he is just really taking advantage of the knowledge that I've given him. And not that I've given him, that I showed him, sorry. I didn't give him any knowledge, I just showed him. And he has done very well just by understanding that fact. That most people, if you drive through a neighborhood and you see a house on a piece of property, you assume the zone is residential, but you don't know what the possibilities could be. Another thing that's very important, and I think that if more people understood, it would definitely change your viewpoint on real estate evaluation. Well, if you'll notice, I don't know where you guys are in the country, but if you notice, most of the areas that get gentrified or or being gentrified are usually areas of lower income. So being an area of lower income, what happens is the zoning there usually is set for smaller lots and smaller parcels. So these smaller lots and smaller parcels allow for greater density. That means you can fit more on those parcels generally than other parcels. That being the case, these neighborhoods become quite valuable because of how much you can put on the property. Okay? Well, I want to wrap all this up by saying that, number one, if you are interested in getting into real estate development, the information is out there. It is not shared often, but it is there. Your zoning office, for wherever you live, would be a great place. If you are in Houston, Chapter 42 of your development ordinance is the place you need to go to do that. But I hope you guys take the opportunity to find out more about real estate development. It has been so much to my life. It's changed the trajectory of my life and what I've been able to do. And I thoroughly enjoyed the opportunity to come talk to you guys about it. I will be in Houston soon too. I'm going to be doing an event, and hopefully Mrs. Rose will be there with me and help me pull it off. But it's been a pleasure to talk to everyone.
Can we give him a round of applause? Thank you so much for making it happen. Thank you for working through tech, alternatives. And I was going to say we will be happy to partner on you coming to Houston. It's been such a great session with you, very informative. You're obviously incredibly knowledgeable. And so, any last words? Where do people follow you? Oh, and then I will take questions. So if you have a question, get it ready, because I'm going to give time for questions as well. But where do people follow you?
You can follow me on Instagram at KB Holdings.
And if you go to the Women in Real Estate Instagram, you should be able to see his poster, and he should be tagged or collabed with as well. So
all of them. But I invite all of your questions. Like I said, I love real estate. Any questions that you have, I'm willing to answer.
So I have about 15 minutes for questions. Do we have any? Oh, okay. All right. I love questions. And please make sure you say your name, introduce yourself, tell us what you do so that people in the room can network with you.
Hi, my name is April. I'm a post-construction manager. So after they close, they work with me to get repairs done. My question is, you said that you did crowdfunding for your first project. What was the process of that? What was it like?
So this was in the infancy of crowdfunding. So kind of like you would raise money for a deal now, I did basically an investment deck. It was presented to a number of investors, and then I did basically what's called a sponsor call. And I did a call and people were able to ask me questions about my experience, the project itself, the finances and everything. And then basically they go through the funding round and people can put money into your project. The platform at the time was called iFunding, and at the time, I think I had the record for the 6th fastest raises at the time. That company has since went out of business. The principals were investing money. I bought about $50,000 worth of stock in it that I lost, but I had my project crowdfunding, so it worked out well.
And I have one more question.
Sure.
If you were to start all over again from ground zero, how would you do it?
It depends on your goals. I talk to people all the time about really what their goals were. I am the type of person that I want to be like the best I possibly can be in everything. So if you're going to start out, I would start first with understanding your actual development process and then scaling that to wherever you want it to be. So I'm not going to tell you to start with my close. I don't just start with a $2 million house. I don't just start with a 35-unit townhome complex or anything like that. I want you to start developing single-family homes in infill settings, maybe go to duplex or something like that. That's what I tell you to start.
And touching on the first question about crowdfunding raising, we're going to talk a little bit more about that today. So definitely stay tuned. There was another question.
Hi, my name is Deja. I had a question. So I am very, very new in real estate. I don't own anything, and I don't know anything about it. So where would I get information about real estate in general, and would you recommend wholesaling or developing?
I'll be honest with you, it depends on how you're made up also. I tell everyone, I am not part of the Illuminati. I don't have any secret information. The information for everything you want is out there. It's just, it depends on if you're the type of person that is fine with making mistakes and trying things out and changing direction. I would find yourself some good mentorship, someone that you trust, a peer. I'm a 100% believer that you are the average of your peers. So I would put myself around people that are doing what you want to do. But definitely some type of mentorship and some ability to go and get knowledge. And 100% knowledge is the key. The biggest thing that I have people, as far as what they say holds them back, is they have fears about money and credit. And I tell them, when it comes to real estate development, I can give you $1 million in perfect credit, and you still wouldn't know how to develop real estate. I don't get paid for anything but my knowledge. And because of my knowledge, I've been able to make money. Because of my knowledge, I've been able to make other people money. So that's the thing that I would tell you to seek out first, is try to become knowledgeable in what you want to actually execute, and be willing to walk towards what you're afraid of. That's what I tell you to do. Before I ended up my first home, I'd never done a home. Before I did my first townhome project, I'd never done a townhome project. I'm working on a waterfront hotel. Never done it before. But I gotta walk forward what I'm afraid of.
Also, shameless plug, join Women in Real Estate.
Yes.
Okay, we have another question.
Yes, I'm Jennifer Davis with Titus Construction and Real Estate Development. We're basically new to developing larger properties like 18 and 20 acres. And one of the points you made here, you said 20, 60, and 20, but I just didn't get that last 20. But
20 to flat 20% is your gross profit.
Okay, gross profit. And then, what are some, besides crowdfunding, fundraising resources?
As far as fundraising resources, I will tell you also that the biggest part of that is the better you are as an operator, the better you're going to be able to raise money. And part of that is visibility. If you come to me and you say, hey, Kenny, I want to do, you say, hey, Kenny, I want to do this 25-unit project. And the only thing you've ever done is single family homes, then I'm going to have a lot more harder time believing that you're going to be able to execute that. But if you say, hey, I started out with single families, I've done duplexes, I've done, a 4-unit, a 6-unit, and I performed well, then okay, you get 6 units, then you get to 12 or 18. I have some belief about that. But the biggest thing I tell people is, if you want people to believe in your executional ability, then you need to make sure that you can show them your executional ability, number one, and that you can actually execute. And if you can do that, I can show you how to attract investors. Another big part of that is understanding what is really a good deal and what's not a good deal. Because money is attracted to good deals. It just is. And if you curate the proper deals, you will always have enough money to pay your investors properly. And if you pay them properly one time, and you execute one time, then you will have that investor flow. Hope that answers the question.
Terrific. Other questions? Going once, going twice. All right. Let's give him a round of applause. Thank you so much. Thank you for making this work. I really appreciate it. And I will see you in a couple months here in Houston.
Thank you, guys. Nice to meet everybody. Bye-bye.
Okay, y'all.
Thanks so much for watching this special coffee and construction session with Kenneth Bell. If you want to check out more interviews from our coffee and construction sessions, you can see a playlist right here. We break down lending, development strategies, building strategies, and so much more. To access all the recordings from our coffee and construction events, be sure to check the details below. If you found value in today's session, do me a favor, click like, subscribe, and turn on your notifications, because sometimes we go live, it's only up for a short amount of time, we take it down, and you never get to see it. So you want to get notifications for when we go live. And if you have questions or you need anything at all, drop it in the comments below. I love hearing from you. And until next time, keep building.